So after years of testing and thousands of pounds spent actually optimizing all of my cold email campaigns, I finally found the perfect script. I'm gonna share it with you. The prerequisite that you need to have coming into this video and coming into this strategy or this framework, this script that I'm gonna share, is that you need to make sure that you actually have an audience and you need to make sure that you have an offer. I'm not gonna go through a training on that because you've probably seen them constantly, time and time again. But in short, you need to have a specific ICP, ideal client profile. You need to know exactly who you're targeting. You need to have this because you need to realize that when we're writing an email, one of the biggest make or break of the campaign is going to be whether or not it feels relevant to the person receiving the message. Just think about it. If somebody messaged you right now, the owner of a marketing agency, and they said to you, hey, I could help you grow your pet grooming company. You're going to be like, what's this person talking about? Like, this doesn't apply to me. And actually, I messed up on this just now. I just had a response to a cold email campaign. And they responded back to me and they said, hey, I'm not an agency. And I found out that they're actually a photographer. They do wedding photography, right? So the first step is you need to understand your ICP and you need to make sure that you've got good quality data going into that campaign. In this campaign, this example I just gave you, I'm emailing marketing agencies, but somehow a photographer ended up in my mix. He was nice enough to respond and not mark me as spam. But at the same time, you're going to get marked in spam. You're going to have deliverability issues. And just more to the point, your metrics are going to drop because you're going to be emailing the wrong people. So you need to make sure that your ICP is very clear and you know who you're targeting, that you have targeting in the first place. You should have one audience with the agency, but most importantly, with this campaign, just make sure that you're targeting a specific set of people, right? A specific ICP. Get very clear on what that looks like. Based on that, we're going to write the campaign for that person. So you have to understand that the script I'm going to give you varies from different niches. I'll give an example. Me right now targeting marketing agencies, I can have a little bit more fun with it. I can be a little bit more chill. I can be a little bit more loose. I can potentially get away with losing a little bit more slang or just casual language. If I were approaching a lawyer, a dentist, a doctor, I would probably be more professional in the way that I'm talking. The script format is still going to be the same, by the way. I'm just letting you know that the wording specifically, the specific language that you're going to use is going to vary depending on your ICP. So again, you've got to figure out exactly who you're targeting first, right? If I'm targeting a niche and I don't know what their psychology is like, then I'm going to use a little bit of a mixture. I'm not going to be too professional. I'm not going to be too casual. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. In fact, I'm always really going to do that. I don't want to make my campaigns too professional because then I just find it boring and then I don't want to do that. So you've got to find a good middle ground that's good for you. But most importantly, you realize that the person that you're messaging is the most important person involved in this situation. It's not you, right? This isn't about you. It's about them. So step one, identify your ICP. And keep that in mind, keep those people in mind while you're writing your campaign. If you want to go really in depth on that, the types of things that you want to figure out at the top level is just kind of what title, like what part of the business they're working in, what kind of business it is. For example, like a med spa, a restaurant, like whatever, whoever you're targeting, right? So whatever the niche is, the title of the person, i.e. are they the owner, are they the founder, are they the head of marketing, the head of sales, like who you're actually writing to. Figure out those two things at the top level. You may also want to look at the head count and make sure that you're split testing based on the head count and segmenting those into separate campaigns, because people that are brand new and they're just working by themselves are they're gonna respond to a different messaging than somebody that already has a team of 5 people, and they will respond differently than if you're messaging somebody that has a team of 20 or 50 people or so on and so forth, okay? So you're gonna realize that at different levels of this business that you're reaching out to, the ICP subtly changes, and then the marketing message that you're gonna be using also needs to change in response to the people that you're contacting, all right? So you've gotta keep this in mind first and foremost. And then going a layer deeper is understanding the psychographics a little bit, understanding their psychology, understanding why they take action. Like I can tell you most marketing agencies, you personally may or may not relate to this, but most marketing agency owners started their agency because they want more control. Not necessarily they want to be the wealthiest person in their family. It's mostly control. They want to have more freedom in terms of location, time, finances, etc. And they want to have more control over those areas. So me understanding that, I will use it to my advantage in the email campaign. I also know that people want more predictability and consistency, so I will use that in my campaign. I will use those words because over hundreds of sales calls that I've taken, those words keep coming up, okay? So I'm starting on ICP because it's the most important part. You got to get very clear on what your ICP is, who you're targeting, and understand them at the greatest detail that you can, and really as much detail as possible. And this is going to help every area of your business, by the way, because the better you know your ICP, the better your offer can be. And again, I'm not going to go into offer in too much detail, but in short, you need to make sure that you're offering something that people actually want. And most importantly, ICP comes first. Your audience is the most important thing. The offer is the second most important thing. So you need to make sure that your offer itself, again, is something that people want, but you need to make sure that it's actually perfect for the ICP. Again, a company with a headcount of 5 people is going to want something entirely different to a company with a headcount of 50 people. So if you're, and by the way, headcount meaning how many employees there are working for the company. So if you're emailing a business, let's say it's a dental practice, and they have 5 people working there. And then you're going to go and message another, or you're going to email another, but they've got 30 people working there. Well, they're going to want 2 different things, because the one that has 5 people working may want to start their second practice, or maybe not. Maybe they just want to kind of keep small. But the person at 30, you already know that they're kind of scaling up the business at this point because they've already got loads more employees and people working with them. So you know they're in that scaling position, and you may want to communicate that in the language and the specific messaging that you use, okay? Once you're clear on the ICP and you're clear on the offer and you make sure that those two are lining up, and again, in order, the ICP first, the offer second, then we can move on to the third point, which is the messaging, and ultimately the reason that you click this video. You click this video because I'm telling you that I've got the perfect cold email script. But before I get into it, if you don't have those first two right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I tell you, because the truth is, the messaging, which is the copy itself, is the third most important thing. It's actually arguably the least important thing when we come to what we're talking about here. ICP, most important, offer, second, and the messaging itself, the messaging, the copy, the marketing, third, all right? It's the third most important thing. It's the last most important thing. As long as you got the first two right, if you've got the perfect targeting, like you know who you're targeting, and you've got an offer that works for them, and most importantly, the people that you're actually uploading in your campaign actually match that ICP, you've got the right data, then you're going to do well, right? Regardless of what your marketing is, like, I mean, if your messaging really sucks, then you're probably not going to get much response, but it could be really, really basic, and it's still going to work really well. So let me actually break into the script and tell you kind of what that looks like. So really, really simple. Subject line, I'm not going to talk too much about subject line. The point of the subject line ultimately acts as a headline. So if you're familiar with copy at all, the idea is making somebody feel interested to click. That's it. You just want them to click the email. And that's why the subject line quick question works so well, because it creates enough, it evokes enough intrigue where they're like, okay, what's this about? And it gets them to click. If you have a subject line that says, increase your sales by 150% over the next 6 months, you're probably not going to have many people click it. And the reason for that is because it's very, very clear what the email is about. When you use a subject line such as quick question, or the subject line that I'm using most right now, which is video for first name, because that's what we're doing. We're sending video. There's a different, like when I get into the script, I'll tell you a little bit about the different formats you can use. Personally, right now, we're sending video. And with the video, again, its subject line is just video for first name. It's really easy. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing amazing. But what it does is it tells people enough that makes them think, okay, what's the video about? And it will click the email, okay? Now, the reason that I'm doing that as opposed to quick question or maybe even first name, like there's a whole bunch of different subject lines that you could use. I want to really talk about the script because it's the most important part. But again, realize that the subject line that you're using is only designed to get them to click. It is not designed to get the sell or to get the meeting. It's simply to get them to click. The first line that we use is going to be used to get them to read the email, all right? The first line is going to get them to read the email. The subject line is there to get them to click the email. It should be pretty simple, okay? So subject line, something very simple. Again, for us right now, video for first name is what I'm using, and it's working very, very well. Now, in terms of the script itself, the actual copy, the most important part, simply as you would do, hey, name, all right? Now, because we use liquid syntax, but I think it's syntax, It varies, so I'm not going to get into that too much today, but in terms of enhancing our deliverability, it will come across either hey, hi, or hello. It kind of changes, like, you know, instantly just spins it and tests it for you, and just, not tests it, but they create a variation for each email that's sent, basically, okay? So that's the first thing. It's basically a greeting, hi name, and then the first line that you want to do is going to establish some type of relevancy. So in the past, the way that we would do this is we would have a custom written compliment for that person. And it would be as simple as, hey, so you got the hey name, and then, yeah, just a custom compliment, right? Maybe it's a compliment about a LinkedIn post that you saw. Maybe it's a compliment about an award or a customer review or a case study that they published. It's going to be custom based on them. I'm not going to give you an example because this really varies depending on the niche, but it's just a custom compliment. It's just, the reason that it's there is to make them say, this is relevant to me. We want them to feel the relevancy, right? That's what that first line is all about. It's establishing the relevancy. It's not to make them feel that we went and we put in loads of effort to create this email for them individually. It's simply to establish that this email and this contact is relevant. That's all. All right, it's the relevancy is the most important thing at this stage. So create the relevancy. And the way that we used to do this again was a custom compliment. Now we use a different type of way that we do it. We mostly do segmentation, which is an example of that would be, so you've got the hey name, and then the first line is, I was looking for dental practices specializing in root canal treatments, and I saw that you were the founder of dental practice name. Now, what we do for that is most of that is actually quite generic. Most of that line is generic, and then we use these little variables of segmentation to enhance that and make it more relevant. So for example, the dental practice part is like static. That's always the same. Is static the right word? It's always the same, okay? The dental practices specializing in X, so like root canal treatments, that may be it may always be the same, or maybe it's going to be a variable, just depending again on your niche and the variability that you can do. So for example, I got a client that's targeting med spas, and he will use that, and he will say, I think I forgot what the treatments are called, but he will put the treatment there. Okay, so looking for med spas specializing in treatment, and that treatment is a variable that gets uploaded. We get that data by having a VA look at the website, figuring out what is one of their main services, and then putting that there. And it's just a variable. And when we upload the leads, that data is automatically dragged in. And again, it creates that relevancy. And we may also say based in location, and the location is also a variable that is on the spreadsheet. So when we upload the lead, automatically the location is pulled in. And then we can also use the title as well and say, and I saw that you were the owner or the founder or the head of marketing. Pull that up as a variable, of business name, and again, pull that up as a variable. So this is a quite advanced example that I've given. It could be a lot smaller. It could just say, hey name, I was looking for med spas based in London, and I saw that you found out a business name, which is really, really simple. And that's kind of what I'm conveying here. It's not advanced, pretty simple, right? So that's in the form of segmentation. But again, the first line is simply designed to create relevancy and establish that relevancy. To give you an idea of how simple this could be, right now, I literally, let me just read this out to you. It's the simplest thing. I can't pull this on the screen right now because I'm recording this video from the phone. But the campaign that I'm running yesterday, already booked 2 meetings from it. Oh, well, the second one is actually pending. Really simple. I discovered company name and figured you would appreciate this. It's the lowest effort relevancy first line that I could do. And the reason I did it is to test it, because I'm constantly testing different things. And it's working, okay? It's working decently well. Again, it's only been a day. But at the lower end, you've got that. At the higher end, you've got the example that I gave before, okay? That's the first line. Once you've got the first line written, move on to the next. The second one is all about grabbing their interest and establishing that you have something that could or may not be important to them. Essentially, what we're doing here is we're stating your offer. And you're either going to focus on the promise that you can deliver, which is the goal, or the resolution of any pain that they currently have. So for example, you know, we've got that very common phrasing of I help niche achieve X goal. So you may say here, you know, again, if you're working with, let me use a different example. Let's say roofers, or let's do HVAC, then you could go ahead and you can say, I think HVAC do like water pumps and things like that. So you can go ahead and maybe mention that. All right. You can say, hey, or heating, I don't know what it is. It's heating, water pumps, one of those two. But you're going to go ahead and you're going to say, hey, we specialize in helping niche like HVAC get more, let's just say, ventilation installation jobs. Okay. And you would want to specify maybe how many there are. You know, we could help you get 20 extra ventilation installation jobs over the next 30 days. And that, at the simplest part, is the offer in terms of the promise that you'd be delivering. You could also add a few other things that could spice that up. You could also say without cold calling or without door-to-door, if that's something they do. For example, in solar in the US, they do a lot of door-to-door. So if I was targeting solar, my offer here may be, hey, we help solar reps get an extra 20 solar installations every single month without relying on walking door-to-door. All right? Simple. Okay? That is the promise that we're delivering, which is the 20 installations, without this thing that they're currently doing. So we're giving them something new that they can work with. And if you want to enhance that even further, you could even add a risk reversal, and you can say, and we do this fully on a guaranteed basis, where if it doesn't work for you, you get a full refund, or you get your money back, or you don't pay a penny, or you don't pay a cent, right? Really simple. But the second line is all about telling them what it is that we're doing. The idea, if we quickly rewind, subject line gets them to collect the email. The hey name is just hey name. The relevancy is the first line. So we establish and make them say, hey, this is relevant for you. Then they read the offer, and then they're going to figure out whether or not it's something that they want. So if they are a med bar and you say, hey, we can help you get, I think it's called Morpheus 8. So we can help you get more Morpheus 8 clients. Then what's going to happen there is, if they want that and if they have the capability to do that, then they will respond and say, hey, yeah, I'd love that. Sounds great. If they don't want that, then of course they will respond accordingly and say they're not interested. Okay. But the idea of this, were we on the second line, grabbing interest and establishing the offer, is just communicating what we can do for them. And if they say yes, they say yes. If they say no, they say no. But this part here is only going to work if you've got the other parts working. If you get people to click the email and you get people to see that it's relevant, then it's that third line is going to be the one really that makes or breaks the email. So usually that is the most important part. It's what the offer is, okay? But once you state the offer, you need to have a call to action. And the call to action, a lot of you probably think it's the easiest part, but I see a lot of people still struggle with it, because they will have a really good email and then call to action will be, let me know if you're interested, or I hope to hear back from you soon. These aren't call to actions, right? The let me know a little bit, it's weak, but it's a little bit of a call to action, because the idea of call to action is you're calling them to act, right? You're prompting them to take an action. So saying to them, let me know if you're interested, isn't really a good call to action. And hoping to hear back from you is a terrible call to action, because it isn't a call to action, right? The kind of call to actions that I like to go for range. Sometimes I want to go for a more like a hard, tougher call to action, which is where you're going to specifically ask for what you want. It's going to be like, hey, do you have 15 minutes later this week to have a chat? A softer call to action would be respond yes if you're interested to see if and how this could work for business name, right? So the really like drastic differences. Do you have 15 minutes to chat about this? Let me respond yes if you're interested to get more info, all right? Both completely different. As I said before, the strategy that I'm using right now and is working really well for us is video-based. And because it's video-based, obviously the call to action is always, let me basically, can I pop over a video that explains how this could work for you and your company, right? It's always some kind of variation of that. Let me know if I can pop over the video. Would you find it helpful if I sent over a video explaining how we've helped other agencies sign 20 clients in 6 months and how you could do the same? It's a little bit of a longer call to action, but that's it. They say yes, and then I go ahead and I send the video over, but that's for a different video, okay? The point is, this call to action is all about calling them to act. It's prompting an action from them. So what it has to do is establish that there's a benefit to them responding, whilst lowering the pain or friction level associated with taking that action. And now what I mean by that is saying, respond yes to get more info is less scary than saying, click here to schedule a time with me, right? Schedule a time with me is going to be like, it's super hard. It's going to work for niches that aren't getting targeted very often. But the softer call to actions, the ones like respond yes if you want more information, or would it be helpful if I pop over a video explaining this further, things like that, is going to work for the majority of niches, especially the ones that are being targeted a lot, because there's less friction, there's less pain associated with them taking action. And what I mean by that, again, is that it's easier for them to say yes than it is for them to click a random link from a random stranger, go to a random landing page, fill in a random booking form, and then commit to booking in a call with them. Right? There's so much friction and pain related to that second option than there is to the first, which is saying, hey, respond yes if you're interested in more info. Simple. You're going to get loads more responses. And then when you get the responses, then you can respond to those accordingly. And by the way, if you do want another video going over the appointment setting side on how to actually handle the responses, just let me know below and I will craft one. I'll put one together for you guys. That's the first email, all right? Subject line gets them to click. First line establishes relevancy. Third line grabs their interest and communicates what you can do for them. Again, focuses either on the promise or the pain. So I didn't talk on the pain, but pain, another example, the pain example would be something like, we could help you reduce your ad spend, or if you're overspending on your Facebook ads right now, we could help you reduce that cost by 50% whilst increasing your almost lowering your cost per acquisition, for example, your CPA, right? So you focus on the promise, which is the improvement, it's the goal, or you focus on the pain, which is if you have this problem. For me, maybe I would say, hey, if you're struggling to book meetings right now and you'd like my help with that, then get in touch, right? And that's more of a pain resolution. You're struggling to book meetings to grow the agency, you get in touch with me and we help you resolve it. That's pain resolution, as opposed to if you'd like to add 20 clients in 6 months for your agency, click the link below and you can have a chat with me one-on-one and we can help you with that. All right, so there are two different parts. There's the promise and there's the pain point. I hope that makes sense. And by the way, those were call to actions and there is a link in the description below. But let's give you a little bonus, which is the follow-ups, okay? Because once you send the first email, what you need to do is you need to have maybe at least 3 follow-ups that come after that. Those follow-ups are going to range anything from quick, easy bumps. I know these have been overused, but they have a great purpose. And what that looks like is, I mean, the old variation is people would say, hey, just bumping this up to the top of your inbox. That sucks, but at least it does still kind of work sometimes. The way that I did it, because I literally wrote this in a campaign yesterday. So again, with this video thing that we're testing, I just say, hey, name, quick question with the colon, which is the dot and the dot. I think it's called a colon. Quick question. Did that link work for you? If not, let me know and I can send you over a different version or something like that. Okay. All it's supposed to do is prompt them to look at the first email and wonder what link it is, what video it is, something like that. Okay. That is the idea. It's all about getting them to see the first email. After the quick bump, and by the way, there's not necessarily an order here, but the quick bump usually does work well for the second. So for the third, you may want to go ahead and add a case study. So with this, really simple, you say, hey, name, just following my previous email, wanted to let you know that the system that I discussed in the video is the same one that helped one of my clients, Oliver, go from booking 5 meetings a month to over 30 for his agency. And he's actually at the point where he's scaling to 30K a month and will be there within the next couple of weeks or so, right? Something like that could work. I mean, it would be better once he's actually hit the 30K, but this is a real case study, by the way. I could use the meetings bookings. I could say he's gone from 5 to around 30 a month and we're scaling further. That's how I could communicate that case study potentially. Or I could say, hey, my client Blake is booking 10 meetings a month for his MedSpa agency, or really whatever case study I wanted to use. But we'll put that in there and that's it. It's, hey, name, but the system that we use actually helped this company achieve this result or go from this amount to this amount. Feel like it could be something that could work for a company name if you are looking to increase your sales. Here you can have a slightly even softer call to action. Here you can have a let me know if this is worth discussing further. You could have a little bit of a loose one there, or you can go back to one of the call to actions I told you before. Where it's just like, respond yes if you'd like to see if and how this can work for you, or respond yes if you'd like more information on this. They say yes, by the way. If you say more info and they say yes, you'd be like, great. Best thing for us to do here is to find a time to discuss this and see if and how this could work for your business. Would you find it helpful if we had a conversation next week? And they say yes, and you book in the call. That's very, very simple, okay? But again, that's like a case study, and you just drop the case study with a call to action. It's really simple. And then you can also have a value-driven bump. So if you're having like a pretty regular campaign, then you could also have another email where you offer a resource. So for example, we're doing the video right now. We're always giving the video, we're always offering that as a call to action. But let's say I wasn't. Let's say email 1 says, hey, do you have 15 minutes to chat next week? Email 2 was the bump. Email 3 was a case study. Or instead of the case study, maybe I did this strategy here, which is what I would say to them is, hey, Naeem, I realize that you're probably curious. You're probably a little bit curious about what it is we do, but you probably don't want to book a meeting just yet. If that's the case, would it be helpful if I popped over a video explaining a little bit more about how we can help you add 20 clients in the next 6 months? What that does is it combats it understands where they're at in the buying process, which is that they're opening the email, but they're not responding. So they're probably a little bit curious, but they're not taking action, all right? Because like you may not want to book a meeting at the time. And I could maybe find a better way to communicate that. In fact, I could maybe say, hey, Naeem, if this is interesting to you, but you're not quite ready to book a call, that's totally fine. Would it be helpful if I popped over a video instead showing you how we could help you add 20 clients to your agency over the next 6 months on a guaranteed basis? Where you only, where if you don't don't succeed, you can get a refund. Like we can add different bits. You don't need to have everything, but if it makes sense, you could add that there. And that's what that would look like, is it's a value-driven bump. We're offering the resource, which is the video, which is a lot easier than them saying yes to booking in a 15-minute call. Instead, it's, hey, can I just pop over a 2-minute video that explains this further? And then we can kind of take it from there, okay? And then lastly, we've got a breakup email. Now, you know how I said at the beginning of the video that your marketing and your messaging, your language is going to be very dependent on your niche? Well, the way that the breakup email works is it allows you to establish more character and more personality, and not establish it, but to share it and show it a little bit more. So I mentioned Oliver, which is one of my clients. He works with med spas before, and his best performing, we actually had a one-on-one call yesterday. So I know this straight off the top of my head, his best performing email within his current campaign is the last email. It's the breakup email. And the reason that it's worked so well is because he's incorporated so much character and personality into it. I'm not going to share with you what he's doing because, quite frankly, it's very unique. He's taken the fact of the breakup email and he's put such a great spin on it that it works really, really well. And it's actually one of the best response rates that I've seen, especially that far into the follow-ups. The idea of the breakup, to give you an idea, and you can work with this, but I'm telling you here, add character, add personality. The idea is that you're emailing to say, essentially, hey, Naeem, emailed you a couple times, haven't heard back from you yet. I don't want to keep emailing you if this isn't something that you're interested in, so I'm going to stop on the emails here. If I'm mistaken, you are interested, just respond back and let me know, and I can send over a video explaining more, or we can find a chance to chat, or we can see if this is right for you, and then your name. That's the easiest part. That's the bare bones. That's what I told Oliver. Use that. Okay, and then what he did is he took that and he added his character and personality that you need to do the same for as well. And you need to be more creative here, all right? So at the basic, you can use what I just told you. I'll give you one variation that I've seen before that worked really well because it's kind of overused at this point. But it's kind of like, hey, Naeem, message you a couple times. I'm getting a little bit concerned over here that maybe you've fallen over. So let me know, A, if you need me to send help, B, if you're not interested, or C, you are interested, you just haven't had a chance to get back to me yet. And then you sign out your name, all right? So it's a little bit more fun, and you're adding a little bit more humor. And by the way, you could use a meme instead to communicate that. So the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire meme, where it's like, I haven't heard back from you yet. Is it option A, B, C, or D? And you've got a couple options. And then you send that across. So there's a bunch of ways that you could do this, but what you want to do specifically is add some character, add some personality. Depending on your niche, the ICP, and what you can get away with, this can work very, very well. but at the most basic format, I told you what the strategy is, and you could just use that instead. Okay, so this video is way longer than I expected it to be. You're probably going to have some questions. If you do, just pop them down below and I can get back to them. If you are an agency owner and you're looking for a more consistent, predictable flow of clients through your agency, and you'd like to consider working with me one-on-one, click the first link down below. It explains exactly what I do, how I work with people, the results that I've helped people achieve, and ultimately how the process works. And from there, if it makes sense, you can book in a call. It's with me one-on-one. I don't have any closers, so you book in with me and we'll just have a casual chat, see if it's a fit. If it is, I will make you an offer because it really works. It works really, really well what we do. And I would love to help you out if given the chance to do so. So look, if you don't want that, just click the subscribe button instead. I upload these videos twice a week to help you for free. So that's free. And aside from that, I'll see you again in the next video.